All right, guys, we are back with the second episode of Getting Global, and today I'm going to be talking about something that was highly requested for a very long time, which is what to do while you're solo queuing. And today we're going to be specifically looking at solo queuing Mirage and the CT side of that. The things we're going to be covering are what it's like to basically be playing the A site, connector, what you're going to be doing if you're the mid player, and we'll wrap it up with if you are the cat or the Daddy B player. Now, before we get into that, I kind of want to break down an idea of how I think the overall idea of Mirage should be approached and how you should look at it, because I think going into MM and even at the lower ranks, you're going to probably run into this quite a bit, which is Mirage, by default, people assume every map is played as a 2-1-2. So you're going to have 2 in the B bomb site, you know, a cat player, Daddy B player, and you're going to have 2 in the A site with the connector guy / site guy. But in reality, I think you should be looking at this map as more of a 1-3-1. You know, you have both your anchors on either one of the sites, and then you have a con player, a mid player, and a cat player all working together to essentially hold mid, maintain mid in some way, and gathering information in middle. Now, I think this concept can be applied at the higher levels more so than it can be applied at the lower levels, but I think it's a good thing to understand as you progress in Counter-Strike and as you start to understand Mirage more. So when you're solo queuing and when you're coming into the A site, a safe smoke to throw at the start of the round if you're worried about missing it is in between these 2 pieces of concrete on this wooden ledge right here. Just stand and throw, stand in this corner from missiles. Very basic A smoke. Another thing you can do is just molly A ramp at the start and maybe toss a nade behind it if a team is disrespecting you and running up A very quickly. Now let's talk about positions on A as the anchor. A lot of your positions at A should not be necessarily dictated by you, but by what your connector player is doing. If your connector player is leaving you on an island, playing retake on A is a great thing to do, rifle or op. You know, if you have a rifle, you can jiggle back and forth and you can try to fight the palace guy when he swings, or you can just simply op the ramp and play retake when they hit the site. Now, if your teammate is giving you a lot of support or you just feel very comfortable on the site, I think if a team is not mauling under balk, I think it's very hard to argue that this isn't one of the best positions in all of A. It's hard to flash you can isolate a lot of angles, you can essentially always pick your fight and really be just a stingy player and hard to kill under the balk if they're not mauling you. Now, the next position that I think is extremely impactful on the A site, and it kind of mirrors how under balk works, is default. And default obviously is, you know, a very common spot, but there's a reason for that. And just kind of like under balk, you can isolate a lot of angles. You can simply fight just the guy that's swinging sandwich, you can fight the guy that's just top Tetris, you can fight one of the guys coming out A ramp on a headshot angle, or you can completely ignore A ramp and you can just hold for the palace swing. It gives you a lot of different options, it gives you a lot of cover, it gives you a lot of safety, and as long as you are isolating angles, you can capitalize quite often from this position. Now, last but not least, to talk about the triple position, I think if you have an op, it works well with an M4, but definitely would prefer with an op. It's a great off angle for when they come out A ramp. It's also a great position where if your teammates are helping you, you can fight very comfortably from here. It's hard to molly you until they get out the ramp, and it's also hard to spam you until they fully wrap you on the site. As a con player, there's one simple thing that you will see every high level player do, and that's one way in connector. You can underhand one that lands at the bottom of con, you can throw it on a molly if they throw one. At the end of the day, as long as it just ends up somewhere in this area, it's a very good smoke because it's going to block any Molotov coming in, and it's going to allow you to keep vision of anybody going up the catwalk. So following that up, as a connector player, you are not necessarily just an A player, but you're more importantly a mid player. So what you can do with this smoke is you can peek underpass very safely with a very nice one way. You can hold for anybody pushing through the top mid smoke for your opper, anybody going up cat, and then you can also, last but not least, if you're feeling like you're very confident, you can ask for a flash mid and maybe take a peek out with the smoke and look under underpass. These are all very, very strong moves. I would suggest that if you're a connector player, you're by yourself, push the limits. Use this smoke as much as you can. Find comfortable plays for you that you can make an impact with, whether it's pushing through and peeking with a flash from one of your teammates, or it's just simply understanding how to abuse the one ways for under window or for when they run up cat. Now, the next thing I kind of want to touch on is when they hit the A bomb site, say you run into an A execute, punishing executes as the con player is very, very important. And what I mean by this is when you see a very standard A take, you know, you see the 3 smokes at A, what do you want to do as a connector player? And what a lot of you will run into is there's going to be windows of opportunity that you guys can essentially punish. If a team is throwing A smokes and say they're isolating your A player a lot, or they're just at the end of the day always running the strat, sneaking through and playing behind the bench smoke on the bench is a great one way and a great way to punish executes. And I think it doesn't require any teamwork. You can sit here and make this play all day, and you should be abusing it as much as you can until a team respects you and throws a molly on that bench. So last thing I want to discuss for the connector player is make sure you're just always on the same page with your cat and mid player. At the end of the day though, punishing executes where you see openings and knowing how to work this one way are gonna really change up your game and make your game that much more impactful while you're playing on Mirage and connector. Now, window is a very rotate heavy position, but it also is a very communication heavy position. If you are not comfortable talking a lot, or for whatever reason, you just don't calm as much as the next guy, I would tell you not to play window, because what you do on this map from window impacts what all of your teammates do throughout the map. With that being said, a couple things I want to touch on is spawns. Spawns are so crucial as the mid player, and if you're going to be opping mid window, which I think you should be as much as you can, you need to understand that if you don't have the best spawns for window, you need to not peek window late, because it's a very dangerous thing to do and it can cost you your life and it can cost your team the round because you decided to be a little bit greedy. What you can do is when you do have bad spawns is don't be afraid to go catwalk. Don't be afraid to double connector, maybe refresh your teammates smoke. Just whatever you do, don't be stubborn. When you have a bad spawn, work with your team, play with your teammates, and don't peek window late. If you do, make sure you always have a flash. If you do have a flash, it's completely okay and very safe to do. Now, some set plays that you can do, or just little things that I like to do that net me a kill sometimes, is when I have good spawns. A lot of times, you know, you have a good spawn or just a normal spawn, you just kind of come here, or maybe you're sitting here, change it up a little bit, give them a different look. When you have a decent spawn, one thing I like to do is jump off this piece of wood and get on an off angle and window. So when one guy peeks top mid, maybe he had a good spawn, but you had the better one. He thinks it's safe, he comes out mid, and you get a free kill just because you simply changed only slightly where you're standing. You'd be surprised how many times that'll get you a kill is just by playing a slight off angle in window. Another thing that I absolutely love to do is if I'm not in window and I'm in connector with a teammate, I like to throw a smoke down from my connector player. And when I have this smoke down, just simply getting one flash from a teammate over connector, say, hey, throw a flash over connector for me. When you do that, you just peek over the smoke and you get all this mid control. You get so much info. And I know this is a solo queue video and I'm talking about a lot about flashes, but I'm talking about very generic stuff that if you can get this out of your teammate, it'll change so much in your game. Because at the end of the day, if you don't ask, right, you're never gonna know. So always ask your teammates for flashes when you can. And something like this is just very simple, because all you have to do is just throw it as high as you can over connector, and it blinds anybody in the top middle position, and it gives you pure freedom to peek over the one way and collect information on middle. The third and kind of final thing that you can do is if a team is just dropping all the utility they have and they're putting so much pressure on mid, sometimes even if your team isn't necessarily doing a bad job at holding mid, giving mid isn't the worst idea. Say they smoke window, they smoke off cat, they even smoke off top con, everything's smoked. Don't be afraid to rotate ticket, because when you rotate ticket, you're gonna alleviate a lot of the stress on your A anchor, and it's gonna give him a lot more room to breathe. You might not have mid control, but this is gonna give a really nice area for your teammates to work in the A bomb site. So you're gonna lose mid, but you're gonna get a lot more info at A. So first, I just want to talk about how to properly jump spot up or B. Don't just jump up and down. This makes you a very easy target to hit and you're exposing more of your body. A very safe way to jump spot is you want to start on the right side of van, and then you want to crouch jump across for info. This limits how much you're seen when you do jump spot. It gives you just as much visibility and info, and it keeps you much safer. You don't want to jump from left to right because you're actually starting higher on the ground. So each time you jump spot upper B, you want to be starting from the right side of the wall and then jumping across, because it just hides you that much more. So now that we've kind of talked about how to properly jump spot, we're going to be talking about what you can do when a team isn't really respecting your B. I think something that happens to a lot of B players is they play B, they really like handling the rushes, but they're not really sure what to do on the other rounds. So if a team is not respecting your upper B and they're not sending anybody there early, don't be afraid to just throw possibly one deep molly for kitchen, nothing fancy. Maybe throw a flash for yourself before you get up, and then you just hop up on van, come on up while it's mollied and flash, and you just walk up and you just walk push B. So many times, especially in MM, I find that teams tend to not respect upper B, and they just get caught up in running in middle and they run underpass. Nobody even cares about upper B, and the B player never ends up punishing for it. So push upper B, get info for your team, because that's going to free up so much of the rotations. And even if you don't kill anybody here, you can still make a huge influence on the round, because you know that the team is ending A, or if they do come back B, you are in an incredible position to get multiple kills. You know, we talked about at the start of this video, middle is more of a 1-3-1. So as a cat player, you should be fighting mid as much as you possibly can while not jeopardizing your B player on a rush. So some things that you can do while you're playing by yourself is, sometimes when a team takes mid control but you know they're not up cat, don't be afraid to maybe dump a nade at chair, slow them down a bit, and then follow that up with a molly. So many times that'll net you a kill or just really high damage. It's super simple, and it'll force them out of chair, and you can possibly pick up a kill with it. Another thing that you can do that I think players don't utilize enough is you can smoke off your own cat. You might see this happen at higher level play, but you're not sure why. If you smoke off your own cat, the team is less likely to run through it, and it also isolates the angles in which you have to fight at mid. You can use this smoke to fight just the chair guy, or you can use it to fight the back mid guy at the hose, or you can hold it and just fight the right side of boxes. And another thing that you can do with the smoke is you can hop up on the sign and you can peek over the boxes. You can do so much with this one little smoke. Another position that is very strong is if you can make your way into ladder without being seen. This is an incredible position. And when you get really advanced, if you tell your window player to shoot this out, some incredible team play, it's something so simple, but having this broken for you allows you to go onto the cinder blocks, play an off angle and hold under window, and it also allows you to rotate back quickly to cat, and you're never in any danger of leaving the B player by himself, but it also gives you so much room to maneuver around the window and to work mid from different angles than you normally would. So guys, that is gonna wrap up this first part of Mirage. Next episode, I'm gonna be talking to you about the T-side Mirage. I can't thank you guys enough for all of your support that you showed on the first video of this Getting Global series. If you guys enjoyed the video, please don't forget to leave a like, leave a comment below. Love y'all, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next episode of Getting Global. Later guys.